Sits in a jail cell. He is back in Idaho, accused of killing young Michael Vaughn.
You're pure evil. You have no heart. You have no soul.
Wondra is accused of murdering her then 5-year-old son in 2021. Would you think you'll ever get the answer as to why?
No, because there is no answer to why. Why would somebody hurt an innocent little boy? What answer could you give? What answer could you possibly give? How scared was he? Did he ask for me? Did he ask for Tyler?
Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping and destruction of evidence.
Michael Monkey Vaughn went missing from his Fruitland neighborhood on July 27, 2021.
This is a criminal investigation.
Now, more than 4 years later, in newly unsealed court documents, Fruitland police named 4 people they believed are involved in Michael's murder. Those 4 names are ones we've heard before.
This is Sarah Wondra. This is Sarah's husband, Stacey Wondra. This is Brandon Shirtliff, Adrian Lucien.
As for what these 4 people have in common, they were all staying at the Wondras' home when Michael disappeared in 2021. That's just half a mile from Michael's home where he was last seen. In the PCA, police pointed to video evidence they say showing Shirtliff walking around the neighborhood. They say Shirtliff helped move Michael's body in a duffel bag temporarily to his mom's home in Kuna before standing guard as they buried him in the Wondras' Fruitland backyard. Stacey Wondra told police the 4 hoped to sell Michael for $10,000 each. He says the idea came from Adrian Lucien. Idaho News 6 is now learning Lucien was arrested and released in Indiana in October for a traffic-related misdemeanor. Sarah Wondra is currently serving time in the Idaho State Prison System for unrelated charges. She's eligible for parole in early 2026.
Karen, is there any connection between the Vaughn family and the home where police had been searching?
No, we've heard this more than once from the family representatives and from the police department that there is no connection between the Vaughn family and the home where this search took place.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughn could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondras' home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughn were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondras' residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
An hour's worth of body camera footage showing Stacey Wondra FaceTiming with detectives and directing to where Monkey's body was buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area.
It's right under the mound, about where at compared to the
trees?
A little, like, right to the right of the trees area. It should be, it should be a garbage bag.
Okay, what color is the garbage bag?
It would either be white or black. We only have two colors.
Is the duct tape still gonna be over his mouth?
It should be.
Okay.
I didn't watch take them off.
Okay.
So you should have everything intact as it was.
He claims he watched the burial happen.
Okay, how far down is Michael?
I don't know how far she actually dug.
And the she he's referring to, that's his wife Sarah, another suspect in the case. Stacey says Adrian, a third suspect, was also there for the burial.
Out of 300 homes, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the home where Stacey, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucian lived.
As Joe mentioned, a newly released probable cause affidavit filed in June lays out the interviews following Michael's disappearance. Again, during these initial searches, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the fence line of the home where Stacey Wondra, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates, Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucian, lived. All four of those individuals have been named people of interest in Michael's disappearance. One of Michael's neighbors told police they saw Michael riding a bike outside of the Wondra's home the day that he disappeared. Another neighbor said they saw that same tricycle at the Wondra's home during a garage sale months before Michael disappeared. The Wondras initially denied any involvement, but then in November of 2022, Stacey asked to meet with investigators. The PCA states Stacey claims he was home the night Michael was allegedly abducted and saw Sarah carrying Michael into the house. Stacey allegedly told police it was Adrian's idea to take a child to sell for money, and they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacey claims Sarah told everyone to, quote, follow her lead. Stacey told investigators they took him to Brandon's mother's home in Kuna that night, where they left Michael overnight. Stacey claims the other three returned to Brandon's mom's house the next day and brought Michael back to the Wanderer's home in Fruitland. Stacey told police Michael was not alive, and Sarah and Adrian buried him in the Wanderer's backyard. 2 days after Stacey's interview with police, they executed a search warrant and excavated the Wanderer's backyard. The affidavit says cadaver dogs alerted to the same area where Stacey told detectives Michael's body was buried, but to this day, Michael has not been found.
Hello, everybody. So good to see you. Today is March 16th, 2026. Welcome into Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. My name is Samantha. Thank you all so much for coming in and supporting the Vaughn family and Michael Vaughn. We're just going to be going over finish going over the news coverage from the preliminary hearing that we started last week. And I'm going to share a couple of things with you guys before we get into that. Let's see who is here. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Here are Curlers in Crime. Thank you so much for coming in. The best name on the YouTube streets. I really appreciate you being here. All of my moderators are so wonderful. Number Nonster, thank you so much for coming in. Chuck Anderson's granddaughter is here. Thank you for coming in. Outdoorsy Life, good to see you. Thank you for being a member. I really do appreciate that. Let's see. Kim D is here. Thank you for the support. Ashley Higgins, thank you for coming in. So many new faces, old faces. If you're new here, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate you being here. Why are there 2 streams happening? I will let you know. I did pin up at the top that we are doing 2 different streams. One is horizontal, one is vertical. You can pick whatever your favorite is. What this is going to do is send out 2 live streams at the same time, and it's really going to help reach more people, and therefore it is going to bring more awareness to Michael's case. There a lot of things on YouTube are new that have been coming in. A lot of creators have started using the vertical and the horizontal, and the up and down vertical one gets people's attention really fast when they're scrolling through YouTube. I got a notification from YouTube saying, like, you should try this out. It gave me all the different reasons why. And the people that have been here for a long time know, like, if I can reach more people to bring awareness for monkey, that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to try this out a few lives. I'm going to see if we can reach out to more people. And if we can, that's amazing. And I'm going to continue doing it. So, you know, you can pick whichever one you want to be on. I can see all of the comments from both. So yeah, that's why I am streaming vertical and horizontal. Let me see who else is here. Under Your Scars is here. Thank you so much for coming in, hun. Oh, not a drama, Nana. Not, wait, I always get your name messed up. Not a drama, Nada. It changed her YouTube handle. That's why I thought somebody new was here, but thank you for coming in. I see that. It is nice to see you too. All in the Tanks is here. Thank you for coming. Yankee Kyle is here. Samantha, you have done a fantastic job covering Michael's case. Well, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. It's all for Monkey. Truth to Light. Hey, Sam and Mods. Great to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Yep, everything here, Monkey, right? Let me see. Bamacat is here. Hello, good to see you. Darlene is here. Avi is here. Thank you so much for coming in. Me and the Avi were on the phone for forever today. Positive Vibe is here. Thank you so much for coming in. I love me some positive vibes. Shannon is also here. Thank you for coming in, hun. Truth to Light says, Sam, you've done a really good job with Michael's case, and I like to thank you for keeping us up to date. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate you for coming in. I do want to let everybody to know that tomorrow I'm going to put up a thumbnail tonight. I'm going to be doing a Q&A so people can ask questions, since there's been a ton of new information coming in from Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing. We've been going over a lot. I'm getting a lot of questions in the comment sections after the show. Getting messages and stuff. So I thought, why not do a Q&A just to have everybody come in. I will try to get to as many questions as I possibly can. And, you know, hopefully clear up anything that anybody is confused about, because there is a lot going on right now. So, yeah, tomorrow will be a Q&A, and I'm not sure what time I'm going to put it up. I went a little bit early today because Purple and Wendy do Monkey Monday at the round table. So if you can, if any of the moderators could please put up the round tables link, I would appreciate it. After this live, everybody can go over and join the round table. They do such a great job, especially Wendy doing the videos. She puts a lot of time and effort into that. Thank you so much for the gifted membership. If you did receive a membership from Chuck Anderson's daughter, please tell her thank you, and let's dance a little bit in our chairs. Why isn't it not giving me sound? Yeah, since I did upload the vertical and horizontal, there's a few things that have been kind of glitching. I hope that does not continue. Allie and the Tanks, I believe, is the one who got that membership. Cotton Candy is here. So like I said, we're going to just finish going over the news coverage, and then I want to show you guys something before we start the live. I found out something. It was very disturbing to me. We have talked in other lives about the different RSOs that are connected to Stacey and Sarah, and there was another one that was found, and I just want to show you guys this short clip real quick that I made yesterday. I don't know why I find it so disturbing, but I do, because it's just one more RSO that not only, these RSOs aren't just connected to Sarah and Stacey, they're connected to Adrian and Brandon. We have found over 20 RSOs connected to the four of them. And now that we know that, Stacey is saying that Adrian came up with this idea to sell Michael, I believe it makes the fact that they are connected to so many even more disturbing. Let me play this real quick. Why did Sarah and Stacey Wondra transfer their Cadillac Escalade to a known RSO? Registered RSO Shannon Hyde, lewd conduct of a minor child under 16 years old. Sarah Ann Wondra and Stacey James Wondra listed as owners who transferred the vehicle on 2/5/2022 in Caldwell, Idaho. This is just 3 months after the excavation was done at the Wondra's home. When the document says Stacey James Wondra and Sarah Ann Wondra transferred the vehicle, it means they transferred the ownership of the Cadillac Escalade to another party on 2/5/2022. In short, the registrant is the legally registered owner, Shannon Hyde, while the owners are the individuals who hold title ownership. Sarah and Stacey Wondra and also Shannon Hyde. Lien holders are financial institutions with a security interest in the vehicle. Lien holders are Hum Motors 2/5/2022, a lien holder financial institution with an address in Canyon County. Here is another out of many RSOs connected to Sarah and Stacey Wondra. We've uncovered well over 20 RSOs connected not only to Sarah and Stacey Wondra, but also connected to Adrian Lucian and Brandon Shirtliff. Why did Sarah... So, it's just really disturbing. Like another one. 3 months after the excavation, and pretty much what this means is this Shannon is a registrant. So even though she is an owner, Stacey and Sarah still held the title along with her. I don't know if Sarah and Stacey were driving the vehicle afterwards or if she was, but finding the information I'm sharing, because like I said, it is one more RSO connected to these 4 suspects. Michael Vaughn was abducted from his neighborhood in Fruitland, Idaho. There are 4 named suspects: Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shurtleff. Stacey Wondra is going to trial. He is going to trial for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. Sarah Wondra will have the same charges after she's released from prison, October of 2026. And Adrian Lucien. Adrian is somebody we're going to talk about in a minute. I've had a lot of people asking me questions about why I keep talking about Adrian Lucien, saying sacrifice gone wrong or the price went up. So I did a short on that yesterday. Brandon Shurtleff knows exactly where Michael is now. We know that he spoke to detectives, told them that he saw Sarah and Stacey put a duffel bag in a basement. Don't know if he meant to say crawl space, but we know the house in Fruitland and the house in Cuna do not have a basement. We have also heard when asked about a duffel bag, he said he had a Marlboro duffel bag and then continued to ask, have you found it yet? Why would Brandon be asking that question? That means it is out of his possession. And just saying and talking about the duffel bag, he has knowledge of Michael's abduction. He has constantly denied that. And now, because of the preliminary hearing, we know for a fact that Brandon knows. Brandon saw things, he knows things, and it's time for him to tell law enforcement and the Vaughn family where Michael is. If you have a tip to give on any of these suspects, anything regarding Michael's case, if you saw something or heard something, please call the Fruitland tip line at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. And Adrian, people are asking questions. They want to know, what do you know about Michael's disappearance? So let's show them.
Hickey McGuire is Adrian Lucien, and he says, y'all traffic kids. Sacrifice went wrong. This never happened before, but I'm the traitor. How did Adrian Temple Lucien get the mob on him? Well, Adrian, maybe it's because you know who Michael was supposed to be sold to. People tried to kill Adrian so many times, damn. They tried to use me as the scapegoat and got caught up. They thought I was the one pimping. The price went up. Adrian, are you saying that the price went up for Michael? Adrian says, I'm not going to tell if they leave me alone. What are you not going to tell, Adrian? Adrian Lucien comes into chat on Justin for All while Stacey Wondra is up on panel. He comes in as Adrian Lucifer, says, lies. Y'all took that boy. Adrian, Stacey says that you and Sarah kidnapped Michael. Is that true? How do you know that they took Michael if you weren't there? Wasn't it your idea to sell Michael? We know that you were there when Michael was abducted. You ratted yourself out. Tick-tock, Adrian. It's time for you to talk to law enforcement.
It is time for Adrian Lucien to talk to law enforcement. All of those were messages that were sent back and forth between Adrian and his long life friend. They were best friends for years and years and years and years. And one of the lives that I did, I went over all of the messages, even conversations that they had. You can catch that live. But it's very disturbing to hear the things that Adrian says. He cannot keep telling people that he has nothing to do with Michael's disappearance, with his abduction, with his murder, if he continues to say things like that. You know, I'm not going to tell if they don't come after me. What is he not going to tell? What does sacrifice gone wrong even mean? And the price went up? What does that mean? He's admitting there was a price. Adrian Lucien cannot continue to play this game that he has no knowledge. He's been doing it for far too long. And honestly, after the preliminary hearing, and I found out so much more information, these 4 suspects all will be arrested. They will all be charged. And yeah, we can't just sit back and not talk about Brandon and Adrian because they're free. They have not been arrested yet. Adrian Lucien looks very evil, even his expression, right? CJ Namaste is here. Hello, thank you for coming in. It's just very disturbing information. Clever Phase is also here. True Crime Tribe is here. Thank you guys for coming in. Yeah, I'm just not going to stop talking about everything. As much information as I have that I haven't talked about before, or even things I have talked about, I'm going to continue putting things out, especially in the shorts, because it's just a fast, easy way to put out the information. Thank you, Lana, for coming in. It's good to see you. AB is here. Hello, hello. But Baby Kisses is also here. I'm listening, Samantha. Thank you for coming in, hon. So, again, just going to be going over the news coverage. And Purple, hello. Good to see you, hon. And if somebody can drop the roundtable link, that will be great. And you guys can join Purple. I'm not sure if she's going up 5 o'clock my time or 6 o'clock my time, but I'm going to try to keep this live just a couple hours long so that everybody can go over and watch the roundtable when her and Wendy go up. Again, if anybody has a tip for Michael, please call that tip line. The telephone number is 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. I'm sure law enforcement knows exactly where Adrian Lucien is, but if you have seen him, turn it into the tip line. Turn it into the tip line. Then we can really make sure that Adrian knows we're watching. Good to see you, Kimberly. Thank you for coming. 7:30 Central Time, so that's going to be 5:30 my time. Go over and join the round table. They do amazing work over there. I absolutely love Wendy's videos. Okay, so I think I've talked about everything I need to talk about today. As far as, you know, don't forget, tomorrow night's a Q&A. Come over. If you have any questions about the preliminary hearing or any information that you've heard that you want to, you know, make sure that you're understanding it right, come in tomorrow, talk, ask some questions. Yes, and please click that like button. Get this out in the algorithm. It really does help spread awareness. In Michael's case, I found where we left off. from the last live going over. You know, it's really important to go over news coverage. One, I love it. Sometimes these news reporters find other information that we haven't heard. And most importantly, we're supporting Brandi. We're supporting Brandi and Tyler. She went up in front of the news so many times, talking to reporters and everything. Tyler joined her once. He doesn't really like being in front of the camera, but he did it. And, you know, we need to keep showing support. We really do. Somebody has a super chat here real quick. Let me grab it before I go in. Thanks for all you do, hun. Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. Let's dance a little bit for a super chat. I really do appreciate that. Well, there's Miss Brandi. Hello, my dear. Brandi is Michael Vaughan's mom, and she does come into chat, so please be mindful. Hey, everyone, I hope your start of the week has gone well. Thank you all for your continued support and awareness for Michael. We love you, hun. All right, so let's get to these news reports. I don't know about you guys, but I love news coverage on cases. Like Kyron Horman's case, it's so old that if you find the really, really old, like right when it happened in 2010 news coverage, you've hit the jackpot. So much awareness. So this is where we left off. I believe this was day 3 in Let's Play, and, you know, we'll talk about it.
It's another very heavy day in the Payette County Courthouse on day 2 of Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing. He's the man accused of kidnapping and killing 5-year-old Michael Monkey Vaughn in Fruitland back in 2021. A Fruitland police detective was on the stand today as body camera video of her interviews with Wondra on November 10th and 11th of 2022 played. Detective Juanita Kelleher said Wondra requested to meet with detectives while he was in jail on unrelated charges because he wanted to give them information about Michael and make a deal. In the first hours-long video, she and other officers are questioning Wondra about what happened the day Michael went missing. Wondra admits to detectives his then-wife Sarah and their roommate Adrian Lucian abducted Michael, duct-taped him, and planned to sell him for money.
At that point, you hear the duct tape on there, stretch.
Please protect your mental health. There are going to be some news coverage that will talk about very specific things that happened to Michael Vaughn. So moderators, please, some warning in the chat. This is Stacey Wondra basically giving an example of what he saw happen. And we just heard Stacey Wondra requested to talk to detectives. That was on the 5th and the 10th, and detectives started talking with him in his interview here on November 11th of 2022, and he wanted to make a deal. He wanted the same deal that was offered to Sarah Wondra the month prior. So in October of 2022, detectives had talked to also Sarah, offered her a deal. She talked some, but then clammed up and didn't want to take the deal. But Stacey Wondra wanted the same deal. And you can tell here he is not being harassed, bullied, interrogated to the point of a false confession.
Stretching and hear this little boy, murmuring and whining, crying hysterically for his mom. Well, Sarah was holding him. She had him? Yeah. He was, wiggling and trying to get out. And,
how was she holding him?
Just like you
I know this is a-
like you would perfectly.
What do you mean? So this is him?
Yeah.
How was she holding?
So here's his butt, or here's his butt. With this, but she's like really down tight.
Later that evening, Wondra said he, Sarah, Lucian, and their other roommate, Brandon Shurtleff, drove back to Shurtleff's mom's house in Kuna with Michael in a duffel bag. When they were taking him out there, Wondra said Michael was still alive. A video of another Wondra interaction is expected in court this week, including one we reported on last year where he directs police to where Michael's body is buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area.
It's right under the mound, about where at compared to the trees?
A little like right to the right of the trees area.
And what is he wrapped in?
He should be, it should be a.
You just hear him describe the trees. One of the cadaver dog handlers that was in court described how her dog hit where the trees were, where Stacey Wondra said Michael was buried. I thought that was huge because I have gone over this particular interview or confession footage many times, and to hear the cadaver dog handler talk about the fact that her dog, it was Deborah, was the cadaver dog handler's name, and I want to say oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name of her dog, but it was an amazing dog. She was an amazing person to have up on the stand. She did not let anybody bully her. I'm talking more the defense, but she gave a ton of information about her cadaver dog and let, the court know my dog has never, did a false alert, and very adamant at the fact, had my dog ever done a false alert, I would not be able to take my dog out to do this anymore. So yes, it was very interesting here. You hear him talking about those trees and then knowing the cadaver dog handler talk about hitting in that same spot during the preliminary hearing.
Garbage bag.
Okay, what color is the garbage bag?
It would either be white or black. We only had 2 colors.
Michael's remains still have.
Who here thinks that Stacey Wondra should know the color of the garbage bag? Like, you really wouldn't remember that. He says white or black, but seriously, wouldn't that be something you would remember?
Not been found. You can watch that full video on our YouTube page. Morgan Romero is in the courtroom and saw Michael's parents, Brandi and Tyler, crying and hugging each other in the front row during all that testimony. They had to leave the room. They came back after lunch. We expect this hearing to go until 5 p.m. You can follow Morgan's live updates on our website at ktvb.com.
And it was a very, very hard day for Brandi and Tyler. You hear here in this news coverage that Michael was wiggling and squirming and Sarah was holding him. And we talked during one of our last lives about how Stacey Wondra uses this boot to represent Michael, and he wouldn't stop wiggling and squirming. Of course, he's terrified. And, and then proceeds to talk about how he was yelling and screaming and, all those things for his mommy. And that was a question that Brandi Vaughan has been asking herself for a very long time. Did he want his mom? Did he want his dad? And then to hear that, it was just very disturbing. It's confirmation. You want to know, but then you don't want to know. That was a very long 9.5-hour day at the preliminary hearing, listening to the footage, and it was very emotional, not just for Brandi and Tyler and their family and me and my daughter. It was emotional for everybody in court. I don't think that there were very many dry eyes at all during this 9.5 hours. Or when he starts talking, I guess, about what Michael was saying and doing.
Meanwhile, Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing continues to bring gut-wrenching evidence to a Payette County courtroom. Wondra is accused of kidnapping and killing 5-year-old Michael Monkey Vaughn in Fruitland back in 2021. Morgan Romero was there all day today on day 2, and she has the latest.
Good evening. Today was a really tough day for the family and friends of Michael Vaughn. A Fruitland police detective took the stand as hours of body camera video were shown in court. In the videos, detectives slowly pull more information out of Wondra about what happened to Michael, and his story changes multiple times. We saw body camera video from Detective Juanita Kelleher's interviews with Wondra on November 10th and 11th of 2022. Kelleher testified Wondra requested to meet with detectives while he was in jail on unrelated charges because he wanted to give them information about Michael and make a deal. In the first hours-long video, Detective Kelleher and other officers questioned Wondra about what happened the day Michael was kidnapped. Wondra admits his then-wife Sarah and their roommate Adrian abducted Michael, duct-taped him, and planned to sell him for money. He says their other roommate, Brandon Shirtliff, was also there.
At that point, you hear the duct tape going around, stretching and hear this little boy, murmuring and whining, crying hysterically for his mom. Well, Sarah was holding him. She had him. Yeah. And he was, wiggled and trying to get out. And,
How was she holding him?
just like
I know this is
like you would birth a baby.
What do you mean? So this is him?
Yeah.
How was she holding
So
him?
here's the butt, or here's her butt with this, but she was like really down tight.
As they listened to this, Michael's parents, Brandi and Tyler, cried and hugged each other in the front row of the courtroom. They then left the room and returned after lunch. Wondra said after his roommates brought Michael back to their house, he, Sarah, Lucian, and Shirtliff drove to Shirtliff's mom's house in Kuna with Michael in a duffel bag. Wondra said Michael was still alive at that time. He eventually admits to law enforcement Sarah accidentally killed Michael by suffocation, picked him up at the Kuna house the next day, and brought him back to bury him in the backyard of their Fruitland home. A video of another Wondra interaction is expected in court this week, including one we reported on last year, where Wondra directs police to where Michael's body is buried in the yard.
We will try there.
Okay.
Do you have any other suggestions for us, Stacey?
I mean, like I said, that's where he was buried.
Okay.
That's the last place I had known. Again, haven't been home for quite a while, and you know what I mean? So the only other place I would say, if he's not in that backyard, is go to Kuna to Brandon's house and check in the backyard by the tree area.
While we know human remains detection dogs alerted to the Wandra's backyard in Fruitland, Michael's body has still not been found. I will continue to be here at the Payette County Courthouse throughout the rest of the week. Follow along on ktvb.com for live updates.
So in that news report, it did go over some stuff that we heard in the last one, but there was some new stuff here. You hear, Morgan talk about the fact that Stacey Wondra said Sarah and Adrian kidnapped Michael, and Brandon Shirtliff was there. So here he is saying, Adrian, that you helped Sarah kidnap Michael. Stacey's going to trial for what he did, and he's not admitting to doing anything. Do you think you're going to stay out of jail? Do you think you're not going to be charged? And Brandon, you were there. That's what Stacey says. You saw what Stacey saw, and Stacey's going to trial. You both cannot continue to think that you will not be charged with anything. And, then again, you hear and see that Sarah was holding Michael very tight because he was wiggling and wanting loose. Of course he was. It's hard for me to talk about It is very, very hard to talk about. You also hear that Stacey says that Michael was alive when they got to Cuna, but Sarah accidentally suffocated him and went back the next day to get Michael and bring him back to Fruitland when they buried him in the backyard. He's saying they buried him the next day. And then you also hear Morgan talk about the cadaver dogs that alerted in the Wandra's backyard. That is a fact. And it was fascinating to hear these cadaver dog handlers talk about how they get their certifications, how they are trained to hit on human remains or the residual scent. So again, just more information that we have already talked about and just being even more confirmed in these news reports. I'm happy to be able to not only give my opinion, go through my notes, because between the information that me and my daughter wrote down, and now I also have Lana's notes that we can compare to, and maybe even have something that Morgan didn't talk about. We're finding out a lot about what was said in the preliminary hearing.
Day 2 of Stacey Wondra's preliminary hearing here at the Payette County Courthouse. And it was a really heavy day, you guys. Brandi Vaughan and Tyler Vaughn, I saw them crying, sitting in the front row of the courtroom at multiple points throughout evidence today. And at one point, they did have to leave the courtroom. One witness was called. It was a Fruitland police detective. And while she was on the stand, multiple videos, hours of video were played, body camera video of her interactions and her interviews with Stacey Wondra while he was in the Washington County Jail on unrelated charges. In those interviews, he had requested to speak with law enforcement because he wanted a deal and he wanted to give them information about Michael. Well, over the course of several hours, law enforcement was able to pull more information out of him, but his story did change multiple times. But throughout those interviews, we learned that according to Stacey Wondra, Michael Vaughn was abducted by Adrian Lucien and by Sarah Wondra, Stacey's ex-wife. They took him back to their home in Fruitland down the street from the Vaughans' house, duct taped him, and then they drove to Cuna to Brandon Shirtliff, their other roommate's mom's house. And at that point, Stacey says that he believes Michael was left there. The following day, he said that Sarah and another roommate went back to that house and Michael was dead. They then returned to his Fruitland home, and he said that Michael Vaughn was buried in his backyard. He said that Sarah accidentally killed Michael by suffocation, and that wasn't the intention. He says the intention was for Adrian and Sarah to sell little 5-year-old Michael Vaughn. We will continue to be here throughout the rest of the week. Follow along on ktvb.com for live updates.
And there you hear Morgan talk about the fact that Stacey Wondra's story changed multiple times, and it did, until law enforcement thought that Stacey Wondra was actually giving them some truths. You also hear him say it wasn't the intent to hurt Michael. The intent was to sell Michael. And he's saying that this was Adrian's idea. He's been saying this now for a long time. So, and we learned that in the probable cause affidavit that it was Adrian's idea and they were all to collect $10,000. You also hear, you know, I think Stacey said at one point a couple of them went back to Cuna the next day, and at another point he said Adrian, Sarah, and Brandon all went to the next day. And we've heard testimony that a cadaver dog hit on the Lexus, which was Sarah and Stacey's car. And I mean, in my opinion, it could only be one out of two times, either when they brought Michael from Cuna to Fruitland or when Michael was taken from the Wandra's backyard to an unknown location.
It was a long and emotional day inside the Payette County Courthouse as the preliminary hearing for Stacey Wondra continued. He's a man charged with kidnapping and murdering 5-year-old Michael Vaughn. I'm neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker in Payette, where we spent hours watching police interviews with Wondra as Michael's parents sat just feet away watching the footage.
Because they wanted to make money.
From financial motivation to alleged roommate involvement, prosecutors played hours of unedited video recorded in November of 2022 when detectives interviewed Stacey Wondra about the Michael Vaughn investigation. In the video, Wondra describes seeing the boy, who was last seen alive in July of 2021, with duct tape.
I just know the duct tape had been used, and when I saw the duct tape, it was on the mouth.
Fruitland Police Detective Juanita Kelleher, who has worked the case since the night Michael disappeared in July of 2021, testified investigators searched extensively.
Did you guys see that stack of information that Juanita brought up to the stand? Let me just back up here just a little bit. I want you guys to see her very, very, very thick binder full of information from this case. Look at that. It's not just one binder either. There's a couple there, and that one is like one of those great big 4 to 6 inch binders. That is Juanita Kelleher and her information from this case that she took up to the stand. And now we know there's over 20,000 pages of discovery.
July of 2021, testified investigators searched extensively for the boy, contacting hundreds of homes and finding no witnesses who saw him. In the recorded interview conducted while Wondra was jailed on an unrelated charge, he told detectives he was willing to help find Michael in exchange for a deal.
I have a problem with going and trying to help find this little boy.
Inside the courtroom, Michael's parents, Brandi and Tyler, became emotional, stepping out of the courtroom when Wondra described the boy crying out for his mother.
I hear this little boy, murmuring and whining, crying hysterically for his mom.
As the video continued, detectives pressed Wondra about what happened that night, and he described what he claims he saw inside the home, referencing a duffel bag investigators believe may have been used to move Michael.
I've talked about what I've seen with the duffel bag. That's literally like what I have.
Throughout the interview, Wondra suggested others in the house were responsible, repeatedly pointing to his wife Sarah, as well as roommates Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, who have not yet been charged. But despite describing those events, Wondra repeatedly told detectives he wasn't involved, portraying himself.
And here you can also see Stacey Wondra using a pad. He is drawing out the home, the yard, and everything, and talking about where Michael was buried.
As someone who only overheard conversations and saw pieces of what happened. At another point in the recording, Wondra became physically ill and vomited, briefly stalling the interview as the video continued to play out in front of the court. The next day, Wondra told detectives that he believed that Michael had died from suffocation after being taken to a home in Kuna, and suggested the boy was later buried in a specific area of his own backyard. Those claims mirror details investigators previously outlined in the probable cause affidavit in this case.
This preliminary hearing is expected to continue through the rest of the week as prosecutors work to show there is enough evidence to move this case towards trial. Reporting from the Payette County Courthouse, I'm neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker, Idaho News 6.
I just want to come over here real quick and catch any questions. Thank you guys for supporting the Vaughn family. Share, share, share Michael's beautiful face, Michael's beautiful smile. That's what his mama always says. Oh, let me see. It's about the only thing they stayed consistent with. Yes, is the duffel bag for sure. And the duct tape. Let me see. Whoa. So we have a new member. Thank you so much for joining Summer's Army. Really, really appreciate you becoming a member. That's awesome. Let me see. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being here and showing the support. I greatly appreciate all of you more than words can say. Justice is coming. Someone is going to say something. I really believe that too. Brandi is saying here that she believes that somebody is going to say something, and I also agree with that. I mean, if Stacey Wondra knows something, we already know he's going to, sing like a canary. Sarah Wondra is not enjoying any of this. She's being blamed for being like the one carrying Michael into the house. Do you guys think that she's liking that very much? Miss Queen Bee over there running the show, controlling everything, being blamed for it all? Hell no. Hell no. It seriously is a race to see who can get a deal, because there's still time for that. Buckeye Mama in the house, thank you for coming over. Running Bear is here. Thank you for being here. This is horrific, putting Brandi and family through this, being a grieving mom myself. I know it's too much without having to go through this. They are disgusting monsters. Yeah, it was a very, very sad day in the courtroom. Everybody was so emotional. Praying that they talk ASAP. And everybody, please continue for that. We want these suspects to talk. 6 Cents Melia, thank you for coming in. Thank you for being a member. Buckeye Mama's justice for Michael. Bring Monkey home. Everybody here is a part of Monkey's army, and we're never going to stop. Yes. Nice Marie. Over 20,000 pages of discovery, and they barely touched it. Barely. There were 9 witnesses the first day. The second day was 9.5-hour footage. Juanita Kelleher talked about the interview with Stacey Wondra on the third day, and they went over the video with Stacey doing a FaceTime with his mom, and then the judge went and made a decision. The third day went a lot quicker, and Stacey's going to trial with just hardly any information. Brandi says that human is absolutely amazing. She has worked day in, day night, every single day since Michael was taken. I'm not sure. I think she may be talking about Morgan, because I know Brandi loves Morgan. Thank you guys so much for all the support for the Vaughn family. Sarah is very much the boss and needs control. She is very violent, in prison for pointing a pew-pew in a guy's face. Such upstanding citizen, not right. Trish, thank you for being here. Trish says that Brandon should think about this. She's still in jail for other charges, and he can be the one with the best deal if he would do what's right. I agree 100%. Let's see who will hit the high note in their trials. I believe it's coming before Sarah will be released in October, in my opinion, and I believe that you are right. I really do. Court case Courtney's in the house. Thank you so much for coming in. Toaster's also here. Yes, she was talking about Detective Kelleher. I get mixed up in these all these conversations in here. And Morgan is absolutely incredible as well. I adore her so much. Even when everything was quiet, she would check in with us and see how we were doing. Oh my goodness. I loved Morgan and Sam. They were really amazing reporters. Juanita Kelleher is the shit though. She worked so hard. You can tell. Look at that stack of stuff. There was a stack Okay, so we're going to go through some more of the news coverage.
If you're following the case of Michael Monkey Vaughn, the 5-year-old boy who disappeared in Fruitland in 2021, here's what happened today in court as Stacey Wondra, the man charged with kidnapping and murdering him, faces a preliminary hearing. So I was inside the courtroom and we watched hours of unedited police interview video from 2022, so 1 year after he went missing. And in that video, Wondra tells detectives that he wants to help find Michael, but asks what kind of deal he might get in return. And he describes seeing what he described as a duffel bag used to move the boy and claims Michael had duct tape on his mouth and was wrapped up in something. Wondra also points to other people who lived in the home with him at the time, including his wife, Sarah Wondra, and housemates Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, while portraying himself as more of a bystander of everything that happened that night. And you will also remember all three of those housemates have been named as suspects at some point or another. But bringing this back to earlier in the night that Michael went missing, Wondra says he heard the little boy crying out for his mom, a moment that became very emotional in the courtroom. When Michael's parents heard that, they did leave the courtroom. They were really emotional throughout all this video, but after this one, they needed a breather. But this preliminary hearing is expected to go to the end of the week as the state tries to make the argument that this case should go to trial.
And the thing is it didn't even go the entire week. We were supposed to be there till Friday, but the state was done calling up witnesses and they rest their case on Thursday. And yeah, nobody was called as a witness, no information from the defense, no defending Stacey Wondra whatsoever, closing arguments, and the judge came back and sent Stacey to trial. We did not even need a full week, not even a full week, which I believe is huge. And I know you guys are seeing that some of these videos do say the same things, but some of these videos say the same thing and then also give more information. And when Morgan is talking or the other news reporters are talking, it reminds me of things that I saw, that my daughter saw, and I'm able to talk about it in case I forgot about it or forgot writing it down in my notes. They absolutely did. They got what they needed for the probable cause, 100%. Thank you for coming in, Callie. Zane Lilly, my other moderator, thank you for coming in. I'm sure they know where they are all at as long as they are free. They are free to victimize others. Adrian victimizes via internet regularly. He absolutely does. And he talks on the internet. He's not one that's going to get up. Even when I said that he got into Justin's live and was talking in chat when Stacey Wondra was up there, he even said in that chat, "You'll never catch me, doing a live." Thank you for coming in, Sierra. I really appreciate that. That sounds like great news. We are so excited that Stacey Wondra is going to trial. And I hope this is showing these other suspects exactly what's going to continue to happen. These dominoes are just going to start falling down. And Adrian and Brandon will get charged. Stacey Wondra is denying having any involvement whatsoever, putting this on the other three suspects, and he's going to trial for just staring at what happened. If you can even believe that, because I don't believe it. And I know damn sure Brandi and Tyler don't believe it. He didn't just sit there and watch everything. He participated. He was at the splash pad earlier that day, waving at kids. So, yeah, yes, 1 down, 3 to go. And Sarah Wondra, we already know, is going to be charged. 2 down, 2 to go. And one by one, guilty. By 4, absolutely. He fixed the transport. He's going down. Yep. Chocolate covered pickle. I love that name. It makes me want to dip a pickle in some chocolate and take a bite. I just need to see if it's any good. Has anybody ever tried a chocolate covered pickle? Is there such a thing? Please tell me, because I love my chocolate and my pickles. Knowledge hidden is guilt. 100%. Putting the coolant is participating in the kidnapping. Power steering fluid, yes. Stacey, Sarah, Brandi, and Adrian, may you all pay for what you did to Michael Joseph Vaughn and his family. It's delicious. Of course you would know, or you wouldn't have that name. I love it. Okay, I am going to continue sharing and going over more information here because, like I said, Purple will be doing Monkey Monday. I did put all of these news coverage in sequence from like the very beginning, from the status conference all the way from Monday to Thursday. All right, let's listen to another one.
Nearly 5 years after 5-year-old Michael Vaughn vanished from his front yard, the man accused of killing him faced a judge again today. Stacey Wondra returned to a Payette County courtroom for the third and final day of his preliminary hearing today. The judge just returned to the courtroom and decided to send the case to district court. He says prosecutors presented sufficient probable cause. The prosecution wrapped up its evidence this afternoon and presented closing arguments. The defense made their case, saying the prosecution is guessing what happened to Michael and that they didn't prove probable cause to send the case to district court. Take a listen.
They took every effort imaginable to try to hide from this crime, and they were very good at it, frankly, but not perfect.
It surpasses reason to think that a little boy was kidnapped and died and buried, and they didn't find anything. But at the end of the day, what Detective Kelleher thinks, what the state thinks, it doesn't matter. It's what they can prove.
Wondra faces charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, destruction of evidence, and persistent violator in the death of Vaughn, the Fruitland boy known to his friends and family as Monkey, who disappeared in July of 2021. The prosecution amended their complaint this afternoon, removing premeditation from the murder charge. And this morning, a video call between Wondra and his mom was shown while a Fruitland police detective was on the stand. In that call, Wondra is crying and telling his mom he's sorry, saying he wouldn't have gotten involved in any of this if not for his then wife, Sarah. Wondra's mom tells him he needs to cooperate and tell the police the entire truth about what happened to Michael.
Baby, is Michael alive?
He's just shaking his head no. Look at his mom.
How?
Suffocation. They buried him in a duffel bag.
How was that an accident?
She didn't realize there was too much clothes on top of them.
Why did she take him?
He was duct taped.
Now, during interviews with detectives shown yesterday in court, Wondra points the finger at Sarah and his roommates, Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, claiming they kidnapped Michael to sell him, accidentally suffocated him in the duffel bag, and then buried his body in their backyard. Wondra is actually the only one facing charges currently, though, for the kidnapping and murder of Michael Vaughn. Our Morgan Romero will have more from inside the courtroom today, coming up on the news at 6. But again, we have just heard the judge ruling that this case will move forward, will move now to district court.
Will move to district court, where Stacey Wondra has to either plead guilty, not guilty, Or maybe if he knows where Michael is right now, tell law enforcement what he knows and make a plea deal. You hear that charges, that first-degree murder with premeditation was removed, turned into a felony murder, which is still first-degree murder, but with the premeditation removed. It was kind of, confusing to me because I believe it was premeditated that they planned this, but, they aren't using the premeditation with Stacey. I think that's because he denied doing anything. You hear him talking to his mom, telling his mom that Michael had passed away. She wanted to know how. And he said, Sarah suffocated him on accident. And she said, how could that be an accident? Which is the question that I'm asking. And he says, she didn't realize that there was too many clothes on him or something to that effect, because the duffel bag apparently didn't have just Michael in it. They put clothes on top of him. And I don't know, on top, around, to the side, who knows? And then, of course, you've got him deflecting hardcore. I would not have even been involved if it wasn't for Sarah. And in that interview with his mom, we've gone over it here on Missing PNW. You can watch it. It's also up in other areas of the internet. But, she talks about Sarah and she doesn't talk too kindly of her. You can tell that his mom really does not like Sarah. I'm just really thankful that this day came, because this is the night where the family celebrated. We all celebrated together. Papa took us all out for dinner. It was all of us. I think we had like 9 or 10 people there, and we visited with each other, talked and everything until they started putting chairs up onto the table, and it was great to relax and know, like, okay, now we're moving forward, and we'll hear what happens April 15th at 10 a.m. in the morning when Stacey's got to go to district court.
Think about closing statements today from the prosecution and from the defense.
The prosecution stand by everything he stated and what he said. I don't know very much about the laws, so I'm glad that that's being explained to us as the process is happening. I'm just glad we're going forward in the right direction, and pray that one of them, or maybe even Stacey, has the heart to tell us where Michael is.
Today was emotional. I know for you guys, listening to the testimony from the detective and watching the videos again. What stands out to you that maybe you didn't know before?
That Michael was given a shot of insulin. Michael's not diabetic, so it would have put him to sleep. So he didn't have to suffer. And that to me is premeditation.
Even Brandi says, premeditation, and it was absolutely horrifying to find out that Stacey Wondra had told inmates that he was in prison with that they gave Michael insulin. And here you have Brandi, she's distraught, she's upset, but at the same time, loving Michael so much, was thankful that it just put him to sleep. And again, these are the words of Stacey Wondra. Did it happen? Hell if we know. He's a habitual liar. But just the thought of it, hearing it, wondering if it's true or not, is devastating for the family. And it was something that really stuck out to her and Tyler, the last day of the preliminary hearing.
So to hear what they did to you.
You did amazing, Brandi. You really did.
It was hard to hear that he was screaming for me. It was hard to hear that that woman told my baby that I didn't love him anymore. There's special places for people like that. And I believe that's where they're going to go. Justice will be served.
What were your feelings
So friggin'
watching
strong.
Stacey have a conversation with his mother and seeking out, comfort?
I admire that woman for her grace and her kindness and for raising him and trying to do right by him. My heart breaks for her because I know how my mom hurt. Heart hurts so much. I can't imagine what she's feeling right now. But I respect her and admire her for telling him that he needed to do the right thing. And I think her supporting him helped that a lot. And I am very grateful to her for that.
And one of the voices that we heard in a lot of the videos yesterday was Detective Kelleher. What has your relationship with investigators been up to this point, and seeing all that video? I'm sure it was a mix of emotions.
It explains a lot of trust us, just trust us, and giving them that blind trust has been reassured of what they have been doing and their love for Michael and their love for their jobs to do the right thing. So.
And hearing the names of the other three come up so frequently and knowing they haven't been charged, what are your feelings on that?
We're a small community. We're a small town. There are lots of moving parts to Michael's case. And those 4 names have always come up together. It doesn't surprise me hearing those names. And I believe that all 4 of them are going to be punished to the extent of the law. Hopefully one of them will grow a slight bit of consciousness and tell us where Michael is. That's all we want is Michael home. They've done their wrong. Now it's time to pay for it. They've done their damage. Give us back Michael, Joe. Give us back Monkey. That's all we've asked for is from day one. And they sat all this time. I have no empathy for any of them. They deserve what's coming to them.
Do you plan to come to future court proceedings?
Every single one I can possibly make, health permitting.
And Brandi, you, as we talked about yesterday, have had just both of you guys such grace and restraint through this process. I mean, how do you do it?
Each other. And we got an amazing community. Our family is rock solid. The foundation of our family is what keeps us going. And that I made a promise to Monkey that I was never going to stop till I find him. It looks different now than when we started. But I still had that promise to keep. So, yeah. Thank you.
Do you guys feel closer to something?
Yes.
And you had Kira or Pidge.
Pidge, yeah.
When it comes to your other children, Michael's siblings, how are they doing?
They're all dealing it with their own ways. I was very proud of Pidge wanting to be here. And, she's a part of this as much as well. And she's a young adult now. So Mama can't tell her no anymore. But I did, continuously make sure before the day, how are you feeling about this? How is your mental health? Are you sure that you want to do this? Because there's a lot of emotions. And of course, with all of the kids, we've tried to be completely honest and open with everything in the case. Age appropriate, of course, as it has been almost 5 years. And Buggy, Monkey's baby sister, she turned 2. Not even quite a month after Monkey was abducted. And she's still she still asks if he's not alive anymore. And we have to go through that. So, yeah, it's really hard. They're doing well. And anytime they have a question, I'll answer it as best as I can. Thank you.
Just a very, very emotional day. This day drained everyone, especially Brandi and Tyler and their family. You know, just hearing her describe that Buggy asks if he's still not alive, and they have to, you know, explain to her again and again and again because she doesn't understand because she's so young. Just turning 2 years old right after Michael, her big brother, her best friend, was abducted. You know, and she talks about how their family's foundation is strong, and it really is. I saw it for myself. That family is so strong. They love one another. They're there for each other. They support each other. It is as true as she describes it to be. And, you know, Brandi and Tyler are just very, very strong. And yes, they have their good days. They have their bad days. But, you know, this day was a good day. Stacey Wondra is going to trial.
Thank you, guys.
Go home and be with them.
Yeah.
Stacey Wondra's murder and kidnapping case will move forward. Just a couple hours ago, the judge decided prosecutors did present enough probable cause to send the case up to district court. Wondra is the man accused of kidnapping and killing 5-year-old Michael Monkey Vaughn in Fruitland back in July of 2021. Morgan Romero was in court all week long for Wondra's preliminary hearing and brings us the latest.
Michael Vaughan's family says this is the best possible outcome for now. The prosecution wrapped up evidence and witness testimony this afternoon and then made closing arguments. Payette County Prosecutor Mike Duke says Wondra and the other 3 suspects who have not yet been charged took, quote, every effort imaginable to try to hide from this crime. The defense then made their case, saying the prosecution is, quote, guessing what happened to Michael, and they didn't prove Wondra is connected to this crime beyond his own statements. Wondra faces charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, destruction of evidence, and persistent violator.
Beyond his own comments, what more do they need? Proving anything. Stacey admits to watching and seeing it, and in, you know, Idaho, being there, being involved, having a part in any of it, you know, is going to send you to prison for the rest of your life. But 20,000 pages of discovery will come out for that trial.
The prosecution amended the complaint this afternoon, removing premeditation from that murder charge. Today was another emotional one for the family, as they had to listen to Wondra admit Michael was abducted.
It was hard to hear that he was screaming for me. It was hard to hear that that woman told my baby that I didn't love him anymore.
I think this was one of the most hardest things to hear. I mean, for Brandi, for Tyler, and just to think about Michael hearing that, I don't think that Michael would ever believe that. He knew how much his parents loved him, but what a monster. How dare Sarah Wondra tell Michael his mama doesn't love him anymore? I mean, we already know that Sarah and Brandon drove by the Vaughan's house the night he was abducted for what? Like a TV drama show to get in on the action, see what's going on. For her to tell Michael that just shows how evil Sarah Wondra really is. Violent, criminal, and evil.
There's special places for people like that. And I believe that's where they're going to go. Justice will be served. I made a promise to Monkey. that I was never going to stop till I find him. It looks different now than when we started. But I still had that promise to keep.
This morning, a video call between Wondra and his mom from 2022 was shown while a Fruitland police detective was on the stand. In the call, Wondra is crying and his mom tells him he needs to cooperate with police. He admits Michael is not alive and that his then wife Sarah accidentally suffocated him when she duct taped him and put him in a duffel bag with clothes on top. Wondra points the finger at Sarah and his roommates Adrian Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff, claiming they initially kidnapped Michael to sell him, accidentally killed him, and buried his body in their backyard. Again, Wondra is the only one facing kidnapping and murder charges in the disappearance and death of Monkey. He is scheduled to appear in district court on April 15th at 10 a.m. We will, of course, continue to follow this case for you. Back to you.
Morgan posted live updates from the courtroom all today, all week, actually, and you can read those right now on our website at ktvb.com.
And I have gone over a lot of those notes from Morgan. She did like a play-by-play. She, had certain times of the day when people were coming up, giving testimony and everything else. And to compare what she was saying, comparing that to what I have, it was just a lot of information being able to come out on the hearing. Oh my God, Sarah Wondra just, ugh. She pisses me off.
Baby, is Michael alive?
Sarah accidentally killed him. Suffocation. They buried him in the duffel bag. And I was completely out of the loop with everything.
And the fact that you knew and you let his family suffer for so long, a long time, babe.
Nearly 5 years after 5-year-old.
Exactly. Letting the Vaughn family suffer for so long. If Stacey Wondra really did have any remorse for what he saw happen to him, he could have said something so much sooner, but he didn't. He found out Sarah was offered a deal, and then he wanted the deal. He wanted to think about himself like Stacey always does.
Michael Vaughn vanished from his front yard. The man accused of killing him is facing a judge again today. Stacey Wondra returned to a Payette County courtroom this morning for the third day of his preliminary hearing. He faces charges of first-degree murder, kidnapping, destruction of evidence, and also a persistent violator charge in the death of Vaughn, the Fruitland boy known to family and friends as Monkey, who disappeared back in July of 2021. This morning, a video call between Wondra and his mom was shown while a Fruitland police detective was on the stand. In that call, Wondra is crying and telling his mom that he's sorry, saying he wouldn't have gotten involved in any of this if not for his then wife, Sarah. Wondra's mom tells him he needs to cooperate and tell police the entire truth about what happened to Michael.
They said that if everything turns out what I said and matches, that they were going to fight for me.
Okay. Baby, is Michael alive?
Sarah accidentally killed him.
How?
Suffocation. They buried him in a duffel bag.
How was that an accident?
She didn't realize there was too much clothes on top of them.
Why did she take him?
He was duct taped.
During interviews with detectives shown yesterday in court, Wondra points the finger at Sarah and one of their roommates, Adrian Lucien, claiming they kidnapped Michael to sell him, accidentally suffocated him, and buried his body in their backyard. The defense is currently cross-examining the detective about whether any evidence outright connects Wondra to the crime. Prosecutors are using this preliminary hearing to try to convince the judge there's evidence strong enough to send this case to district court. Morgan Romero in court again today. Follow along with her live updates right now on KTVB.com.
Brandi messaged me. She just wants everybody to know that her, she's having a very hard day. And she loves everybody. She just wants to thank everybody. And yeah, it's just one of those days for Mama Bear. Her anxiety's up and she's just not feeling it. So she's thanking everybody for coming in and supporting Monkey and supporting the Vaughn family. So difficult, on these difficult days to know that she's hurting because we all want to hurt with her. This isn't easy. There's a lot of stuff coming out and, it's hard to deal with. And then here we are going through news and she's reliving it all over again, having to be here. And I don't expect her to be here or be able to continue to watch it, especially on days that are hard. So we love you, Brandi. Get some rest. We're here for you always. Whenever you need us. You don't ever have to worry about not coming into chat.
I'm Don Nelson. We begin with breaking news. A major development in the case of Stacey Wondra, the Payette County man accused in connection with the disappearance and death of 5-year-old Michael Vaughn. After 3 days of testimony, including hours of video evidence, witness accounts, and arguments from both sides, the judge has ruled there is probable cause for Wondra to stand trial on all 3 counts. He faces kidnapping, murder, and destruction of evidence. Neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker was inside the courtroom today as the court played a video call between Wondra and his mother.
Hey, Don. Yeah, it's been an emotional day here and really a long week as this preliminary hearing is played out at the Payette County Courthouse. And today inside the courtroom, Michael Vaughn's family was there as they played a video where Stacey Wondra was speaking with his adopted mother. And she asked a question that many of us have been waiting years to have answered.
Baby, is Michael alive?
Sarah accidentally killed him. Suffocation. We got to move with everything.
And the fact that you knew for so long, a long time, babe.
In the call, Wondra claims his wife, Sarah, and one of his housemates were responsible, saying Michael was taken as a part of a plan to make money. The video was part of hours of testimony, including from a Fruitland police detective who walked the court through the investigation. But during closing arguments, the defense said the state's case is built on speculation.
This is not guessing court. This is not hopeful court. This is not, we have a pretty good idea court.
Prosecutors argued Wondra's
that guessing court, everything that he just said. I really liked it when the judge came back and said, I don't make my decisions off guesses. Basically coming right back at the defense like, there was probable cause. There is evidence here to move forward. He is going to go to trial, and I'm not basing my decisions off of guesses.
own statements and his actions after Michael was taken show he played a role in the crime.
His actions are consistent with being in the same joint enterprise as the people who are committing the other primaries, committing the actual kidnapping.
Judge Brian Lee ultimately agreed there was enough evidence for the case to move forward. After the ruling, Michael's mother, Brandi Vaughan, spoke outside the courthouse.
They've done their wrong.
Now it's time to pay for it. They've done their damage. Give us back Michael, Joe. Give us back Monkey. That's all we've asked for is from day one. And they sat all this time. I have no empathy for any of them. They deserve what's coming to them.
Vaughn says with no other arrests in the case, the process is far from over as her family continues waiting for answers.
Step one, with one of them. There's still 3 more to go.
Wondra is expected back in court for his arraignment on April 15th. And like I said, we have been here all week. I've been inside that courtroom giving full detailed breakdowns, and you can find all of those on IdahoNews6.com. Reporting live in Payette County, I'm neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker for Idaho News 6.
And this is going to be, just for the record, this is Exhibit 14, which has previously been admitted.
Okay, so we're done with that one. That is raw video of basically, I believe it was some of the footage and maybe even closing arguments. I want to see something real quick. Give me just a moment. Miss Brandi sent me something. Okay, let me get over here. There they are. Hold on just a second. I want to download these. Okay, then let me come over here. Brandi just sent me this picture. She said it was from the Comic Con yesterday. So this is what they were doing with her time. And I know she hasn't been on social media too much, so it's so amazing to see them having a good time. Look at little Buggy. She always brings a smile to my face, and Brandi knows it. She's always sharing stuff with me. I bet you Buggy was having the time of her life. Of her life. I am telling you, this girl, man, she is a handful. Miss Buggy, her high-pitched voice, just so energetic, so much like Michael. Thank you, Mama, for sharing these with me. Oh my goodness. Love it. Is so sweet, isn't she? She is adorable. She's such a sweetie. She misses her brother so much. And a heart of gold. Her auntie would know. Her auntie would know. We've only got one more set of clips to go through. I'm just going to go through. Thank you so much for all you do. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate that. Everybody sending loves to Brandi, because we know she's having a bad day, and it's okay to have a bad day. Yep. If there's any bad anything out there, she's going to correct. Sweet Tea, thank you for coming in, praying for Brandi. I really do appreciate everybody coming in and giving so much support. It has been heartbreaking, but Monkey's army is with her and she knows it. Praying for you, Brandi. We love you and we got you. And Monkey. Yep, we're Monkey's army. TikTok, Brandon and Adrian. TikTok. Do you remember his YouTube tour? He didn't care about anybody but himself, and it was always just about him. He thought he could lie and weasel his way out of taking responsibility. Yeah, YouTube shit show was definitely him deflecting away from everything. Does not like people who hurt. Honey, would you make sure that this is plugged into the wall, because it's saying that my battery is low on my computer. It is not plugged in. We don't want that, guys. If I disappear, my computer hasn't been plugged in this entire time. That's okay. We've got just a few more to go over. Let's see. God does not like people who hurt the innocents. Sarah's repent and tell the Vaughans where Michael is. That is young only hope. Stacey let them suffer and was on these panels lying and thinking he was going to get paid for all of it. All four are going to get everything they deserve. 100%, Trish. There's a special place in hell for her and all of them. All right, let me get down here. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's get to the last of the news coverage. I want to be done before Monkey Monday starts. Please join the round table for Monkey Monday. It's every Monday. You can always go over to the round table. Wendy and Purple throw up videos, sometimes even during the week or early in the day on Monkey Monday. All of the videos that Wendy does is absolutely the missing. You can also go follow her. I believe it's Wendy the Missing. Yeah, just love to give support on Monkey Mondays. If you don't see me over there, it's usually either because I am cooking dinner or my granddaughter's here, because she usually shows up right about the time. Mondays is my day with her, so she shows up right about the time that it starts. And you know, I've got to spend my time with her because she will let me know if I'm on my phone too long. Let's just finish watching this coverage.
All week, we brought you live coverage from Payette County as a judge determined Stacey Wondra, the man charged with kidnapping and killing missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughn back in 2021, will stand trial. But as we've reported, Wondra has testified he did not act alone. So why is he the only one charged?
Baby, is Michael alive?
Sarah accidentally killed him.
That short clip of a jailhouse conversation Stacey Wondra had with his adopted mother was played in a Payette County courtroom on Thursday during the last day of the Wondra preliminary hearing in the case of missing Fruitland boy Michael Vaughn. The judge in the case ruled Wondra will stand trial for the charges of murder, kidnapping, and destruction of evidence.
When I make any decision, I base that decision on the evidence that's presented. I certainly never make a decision based on hopes or guesses, based on the...
He never bases his decisions off of hopes and guesses.
The underlying subject matter of a case that Stacey Wondra took, enticed away, or detained Michael Vaughn, the child under the age of 16, with the intent to keep or conceal the child from his custodial parents, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4501 and 4503.
According to former Idaho Attorney General David Leroy, in Idaho statutes, Title 18 dealing with crimes and punishments specifically defines the difference between a person liable for a crime. There are principals and accessories.
It's a fairly simple concept, and it's divided essentially by time. If you're acting before or during, you're a principal. If you act only after, you're an accessory. But obviously, this case from the very outset has suffered from a confusion of who did what to whom when.
Right now, Stacey Wondra is the only person charged with the crime in the disappearance of Michael Vaughn. There were originally 4 people of interest. Sarah Wondra is in custody at an Idaho women's facility on unrelated charges, and the whereabouts of Brandon Shurtleff and Adrian Lucien are unknown. Stacey Wondra will be...
Brandon Shurtleff, they know exactly where Brandon Shurtleff is. Brandon Shurtleff has been at his mom's house door dashing. So that was kind of incorrect here. And I know they know where Adrian is too. So
be arraigned in district court on April 15th. Idaho News 6 will be there to bring you the latest. For Idaho News 6, I'm senior reporter Don Nelson outside the Payette County Courthouse and Jail, where Stacey Wondra sits in a jail cell. He is back.
oh, this is an old recording, news clip. Hold on a second. Back over here. Because justice is coming, thank you for covering this truthfully. Thank you so much, Country Cuz, for coming in. We got a dance for the super chat. I really do appreciate that so much. It's such a good to have you here always. I want to get over here and kind of get back out of here and where we are. So okay, so then there's the last day of the preliminary hearing. This is going to be the last video, actually. Okay, sorry, I had to get to that and back out and back in. This is just Morgan talking with another reporter. Why are they protecting each other? They are all guilty, all involved. Did they let a B and an A out to hopefully lead them to Michael Vaughn? I don't believe that Adrian Lucien knows where Michael is. He left quite early from Idaho after Michael Vaughn's abduction. But, I mean, they're protecting each other because in court we found out during the preliminary hearing that all 4 suspects got together and made a pact to make sure to convince everybody they had nothing to do with Michael Vaughn's abduction and murder. Like, that was their plan. That's why Stacey did his shit show on YouTube. That's why Brandon's been denying everything. That's why Adrian, even in his post when you're talking to him, denies everything. But all of those text messages and stuff that I have from Adrian Lucien, that was a private conversation with Adrian and his best friend going, growing up. Somebody Adrian thought that he could talk to and, be more honest. And that's why we have all of this new information coming from Adrian about the knowledge he really did have. I think Adrian goes through this thing where sometimes he really wants to talk about it because he feels really bad. In my personal opinion, I think the reason that Adrian Lucien didn't go to CUNA that night for that tow is because he had a plan to sell a child for money. He didn't have a plan to hurt a child. And from what I understand, his best friend has told me over and over again, he just doesn't see Adrian ever wanting to do such a thing. But although that, maybe not harm the child, but if you sell a child to somebody, look at what could happen to Michael then. So Adrian Lucien may not have liked the fact that they were hurting him and doing all of those things right in front of him, but he didn't care that Michael was going to be sold to who? Predators of the worst kind, to suffer the unimaginable stuff that we don't even want to think about. And then, people are also used, trafficked for being like a slave in the house, or people want to buy a child because they can't have any. There's lots of reasons why, but still Michael's going to be suffering in one way, shape, or another because he's away from his family. So I don't care that he didn't want to participate in that trip to CUNA because he didn't know Michael was going to be hurt in front of him. Adrian knows a lot, and it's sickening. It really is that he wants to continue to deflect. And I was so glad to be able to have, my source, Adrian Lucien's best friend, and just be able to talk with him and really get to know him, spending many, many, many months, almost over a year. And now it's even been even longer. He wants nothing more than there to be justice for the family, no matter if his friend had something to do with it or not. And that's what it's all about. Justice for Michael. This is the last one we're going to go over, and this is a news reporter actually interviewing Morgan from KTVB. So this should be interesting. I have not seen this one before.
What we saw last week was a preliminary hearing in magistrate court in Payette County. It was effectively a little mini trial without a finding of guilt, no jury. It was where prosecutors could decide what evidence they wanted to put forward, what witnesses they wanted to call in order to prove to the judge that there is sufficient probable cause in this case to move the case up to district court. And ultimately, that is what the judge decided. He sided with prosecutors and he said there is sufficient probable cause to move this up to district court. And so there will be a arraignment at that level in April for Stacey Wondra.
Okay, what stood out from the preliminary hearing to you?
They called multiple witnesses. They called neighbors. They called handlers of cadaver dogs, human remain detection dogs. And all of these things pointed to the Wondra's home, allegedly. So they brought in these witnesses who testified, not long after Michael went missing, a live scent tracking dog pinpointed the Wondra's home, also pinpointed an area over a bluff where prosecutors and law enforcement believe that a tricycle that Michael was riding, given to him by the Wondras, was tossed. And so pinpointed in two separate locations that they believe Michael's scent was. And then Stacey Wondra had asked to speak with law enforcement in 2022 before the yard was dug up. And that's how we learned we got to that point. And said, I hear you guys are offering my wife, they're divorced now, my wife, Sarah, a plea deal. I would like the same thing. And so it took hours, but ultimately prosecutors say they got closer and closer to the truth. And what he said happened is that he was sitting at home. Sarah, his roommates, Adrian and Brandon, came in with Michael and they ultimately duct taped him, put him on the couch. They said, we're going to sell him. We want to make money off of him. We're going to sell him to somebody in Oregon. And so then they decided to leave the home. Stacey says he went to leave the home and go out to CUNA to have an alibi. And CUNA is where Brandon Shirtliff's mom lived. So they put Michael, allegedly, in a duffel bag with clothes on top of him as he's duct taped. Mind you, this is a 5-year-old little boy. They drove out to CUNA. Stacey Wondra said at the time Michael was still alive. After that, he doesn't know what happened. Doesn't know what happened. He says he doesn't know what happened. But Sarah went back, and another roommate went back the next day, and Michael was dead. And so Sarah, according to Stacey, said, I accidentally killed him. He suffocated. And so we heard a phone call. This was really harrowing. We heard a phone call between Stacey Wondra and his mother from jail.
Baby, is Michael alive?
Sarah accidentally killed him.
How?
Suffocation. They buried him in a duffel bag.
Okay, and then you also heard from Brandi as well.
Yeah. Oh, Michael's mom has just been an absolutely incredible, inspiring woman throughout this. The grace and the restraint that she has had through this process is so admirable. And I do want to play a soundbite that she said at the end when this case was ultimately decided to be moved to district court.
It was hard to hear that he was screaming for me. It was hard to hear that that woman told my baby that I didn't love him anymore. There's special places for people like that. And I believe that's where they're going to go. Justice will be served.
So what happens next?
Yeah, so again, he's going to be arraigned. Stacey Wondra's going to be arraigned in district court in April. And then the case ideally would move forward to trial at that point, but it could be years, before we see this actually come to fruition. We are expecting, if they've been named as suspects, something to come from this, but it remains to be seen, Hunter.
She does such a great job reporting on this case. She sat right behind us at the preliminary hearing, and she was amazing. I loved talking with her. I don't believe Sarah or Stacey or B at all, in my opinion. And you know what? I don't know how you could believe any of them. They're all liars. I mean, we just know that there are a lot of things. Although Stacey Wondra has lied, and we know he's a habitual liar. Here's the facts. They have all said Michael was dead. Sarah Wondra said that Stacey did it and buried in the backyard. Adrian Lucian says y'all took that boy. Brandon Shirtliff talks about having knowledge of a duffel bag and seeing Sarah and Stacey with it. And we know Stacey has confessed. So we know all 4 of these people know something. So that's true. Brandon and Stacey have both talked about the duffel bag. They have both talked about how a body couldn't fit into a duffel bag. We have her duct tape, duffel bag, tow to CUNA, stop on 8th in Arizona. These things have been consistent this entire time. Only now more and more information leaks out of that. Why did they stop on the side of the road on 8th in Arizona? Was it just to put power steering fluid in? Or like in the probable cause affidavit, it says that one of the reasons why was to put the power steering fluid in, but the other reason why was so that Brandon Shirtliff could check on Michael because he was screaming in the back. We heard in court that they had to turn up the music in the truck to try to get rid of the sound of Michael screaming in the back. Brandon Shirtliff admits on my panel when I had him up here in my interview with Brandon Shirtliff that he did, in fact, get out of the truck. He even talks about being in the bed of the truck. We know there was a tow from CUNA. We know that they were at his mother's house. We know because cadaver dogs also hit at Tina Mariel's house and Stacey Wondra's house. So we know Michael was in Cuna. We just don't know who went into the house because Brandon Shurtleff said that Stacey came into the house with him. Stacey Wondra said that Sarah went into the house and went to the bathroom. Then there are other stories by Stacey Wondra that him and Sarah both sat into the car. There's stories about Brandon changing his clothes, Brandon doing laundry. Brandon gets up on panel and says he didn't do any laundry. But we know they went to Cuna, and we know they went to Cuna with Michael because they all have knowledge and involvement. We know that all 4 of these suspects were in the home in Fruitland at 1102 Red Wing Street because their phones put them in the neighborhood when Michael was abducted. We know that Brandon Shurtleff is seen on footage walking around the neighborhood saying that he's looking for a missing child when Michael Vaughn hadn't even been reported missing yet by his father, Tyler. That phone call wasn't until 7:21, and Brandon was walking in the neighborhood from 6 to 6:30 p.m. Sarah Wondra told her ex-husband that she fantasized and wanted to kidnap people. And here Stacey Wondra is saying Sarah brought Michael into the house, holding him tightly, squeezing him because he was wiggling around and wanted to get loose. I think they panicked. You guys have heard Buggy's voice. You see how, or hear how loud, how high-pitched Michael's voice was. The exact same way. If he's in that house off 1102 Red Wing and he's screaming for his mama and he can't stop crying, he's loud, and he is missing in the same neighborhood where the Vaughans live. You're going to take a child and you're going to sell him or her for money. At some point, panic sets in that Michael, and this is my opinion, Michael is taken from the neighborhood where they live, and that's the panic. That is the panic. They all went and traveled around. Stacey Wondra went to a skate park. Adrian, Lucy, and Brandon and Sarah are out by a mall. Kidnapping a child from somewhere else is one thing, but kidnapping a child from the neighborhood where you live, people are going to be out looking for Michael. People are going to be knocking on doors, asking questions, looking around to see if they see anything. Lord knows if anybody saw Michael. They don't know if anybody saw them with Michael. Put them, use this tricycle, like Stacey Wondra says, to bring him to the house. Panic definitely kicked in, and they decided, okay, we cannot keep Michael quiet. What are we going to do? You have to get him to quit screaming, and that's where the duct tape comes in. And then they can't keep him there at the house. People are going to start looking for him. Police could come knock on our door. We have to get rid of him. Brandon, we can take him to my mom's house because my mom's out of town. You can kind of visualize exactly how this all went down. Michael Vaughn was abducted. He was abducted by 4 monsters, 4 named suspects: Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, and Adrian Lucian, and Brandon Shurtleff. Michael was only 5 years old when he was taken from the neighborhood near his home. Michael Vaughn deserves justice. Somebody out there has a tip. Please come forward with that tip. The Fruitland police tip line is 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. His family wants to bring him home so they can lay him to rest. This family has suffered way too long. Michael deserves to be in a special place so that the family can go and visit him, give him flowers, talk to him, sit there with him. That's the reason the Vaughn family wants him home. And there are people out there that know something. I don't know if you're scared. I don't know why you haven't came forward with that tip. But if it's making you feel icky on the inside, you should definitely be calling Fruitland Police Department. 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. What if this was your little boy? What if this was your grandson, your nephew, your brother? Wouldn't you want somebody to come out and talk and say, hey, I heard this. It might just be a rumor, but it's something, and it might put some pieces together for law enforcement. You can be Monkey's hero. You can bring him home to his family so his family can put him to rest and visit with him and talk to him and cry. Leave those flowers. Those are very important things, especially for a mother and father or a brother or sister to have that place. That's why we have memorials, our cemeteries and stuff. That's why we have our ashes and we put our family's ashes somewhere where we can see them. I have my father's ashes, my mother's ashes. I talk to them all the time. Somebody out there has more information. 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. The Vaughn family has a long road ahead of them. A very long road. They have to go through trial with Stacey. Then they have to go, going to a preliminary hearing and then possibly, I believe, another trial for Sarah Wondra and again with Brandon and again with Adrian. If you see Adrian, report him. Report where he's at. Hell, take a picture of him, send him to me. I'll blast him. Adrian, Lucian, and Brandon Sherliff shouldn't be free. But unfortunately, this isn't the way it's working. Law enforcement has a plan. The district attorney has a plan. They need to make sure that they can provide other criminals with court-appointed attorneys if they can't afford one. It costs a lot of money to do the preliminary hearings, to do the trial. They're doing everything that they can, and Stacey Wondra is going to trial. This is huge. We have to keep praying for the family, praying for Michael to be found, and most of all, pray that one of these suspects is going to give up the unknown location where Michael Joseph Vaughn is now. It's the most important thing. That's what this family wants. Him to come home. And we want to help the Vaughn family get exactly that. So if you have a tip, please 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. No tip is ever too big or too small. You can always let law enforcement decide, what tip is credible or not. They'll look into anything. I know that when it comes to Michael's case. Tomorrow night, a Q&A. If you have questions, tomorrow night's the night to come in. I will try to get to all of the questions. I hope I'm not flooded with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but I will be glad to answer as many questions as possible. Maybe if Brandi's feeling better, she'll come over, help answer some questions. A lot of other people here in chat, moderators, do know a lot of information about the case. There's so many new things going on in Michael's case. I think it's important to talk and, fix any misinformation that's out there, or talk about anything, any question you have. I am more than willing to answer your questions. I would rather answer those questions than for you to take some information that may not be true and start talking about it. That kind of stuff is what starts the rumor mill, and that rumor mill can ruin a child's case very quickly. One of the reasons why I never covered Sebastian Rogers' case, too much stuff, too fast, too many people, too many moving parts, too many stories, too much everything to even start to begin to work his case. I usually do only the Pacific Northwest children or crimes here. But it was one of the reasons why I didn't take on Sebastian's case. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know what was true and what it wasn't true. So it's important to know the facts. So please join me tomorrow night for a Q&A. And, you know, while you're lying in bed tonight and you're thinking about the Vaughn family, just say a prayer. Say a prayer for them. They're going through a really hard time. It has sat in with them that this is really happening. They sat in a preliminary hearing for 3 days. How long is a trial going to be? Yeah. Weeks, months. Let's hope it all comes fast, quickly. I pray for that all the time for the Vaughn family. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I appreciate it. There was so many staff on Stacey Wondra's side. There were like 3 attorneys, and from what I understand, I want to say there was 2 to 4. I heard, have not verified. They were private investigators for the defense team. Not sure exactly. Like, I have not been able to confirm that, but did hear that. Lots of money going into this case, millions. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to put that thumbnail up tonight so you guys can keep an eye on that. And again, I just really appreciate you all coming in. Don't forget to click that like button on your way out. Help get this out into the algorithm. Hit your notification button so that you know when I go live, because sometimes I go live, you know, early in the afternoon. Sometimes I go live in the evening. I do try to post up that I'm going live here on YouTube or in Michael Vaughn Case Revisited Facebook group. Would love to have you guys join. If you ever want to talk, find out anything, you can find me on Facebook under Samantha Brainerd. You can find me by going into Michael's Facebook, Michael Vaughn Case Revisited. You can also email me. Unfortunately, I don't even know that email. And I hope to see you guys all tomorrow night. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything and for being a part of Monkey's Army. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to the Vaughn family. Share Michael's face and his beautiful smile. Share everything coming out from this preliminary hearing. Let's let these suspects know, because we know they're watching, that Stacey Wondra is going to trial.